If you want to be a game developer easy, fast, and free, this is an absolute must. Godot is a free and open source 2D and 3D cross-platform.
Have you ever noticed something unusual about Zhu Yuan's outfit? So, her outfit has some unique features like ammo slots, weapon storage, and even weapon upgrades. But here's the kicker, there's a handlebar on her back. What is that? The wildest theory is that it's for riding her. I mean, like in Darling in the Franxx, or transforming her into a motorcycle like Kamen Rider Axel. Crazy, right? But here's the truth. That handlebar is a drag handle, used for rescuing injured or deceased officers during intense situations. So, unfortunately, we can't drive it. Have you ever noticed?
I just found out in Japan they sell hole-in-one insurance. See, in the US, if you're golfing and you hit a hole-in-one, it's pretty cool, and while you should buy the other golfers a drink, nothing's required. But in Japan, the culture around a hole-in-one is very different. If you manage to hit a hole-in-one in Japan, you're expected to buy everyone you know food, drinks, and presents. The problem is, if you know a lot of people, this can get insanely expensive, which is why some companies sell hole-in-one insurance. For about $100 a year, if you hit a hole-in-one, the insurance company will give you about $5,000 for your party. You may think this would be easy to cheese and insurance scams are all over the place, but in order to claim the money, you not only need a witness that saw you hit the hole-in-one, but also evidence that you even did. I just found out in Japan they sell hole-in-one.
3 of us know the word, 1 doesn't. Our topic is fictional characters. Get ready. I'm the imposter.
Alright, buddy, start it off. My hint is flight. Damn it, that was my hint. Makes sense.
Flight. That takes out quite a few characters. Leaves us with half the board. But my favorites are Mary Poppins, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, and Dracula.
Okay, who's next? I'll go. Really think about it. Bite. What? That was my backup hint.
There's only 2 that make sense now. Spider-Man, who got powers from a bite, and Dracula, who bites necks.
Luckily, I had one more hint prepared, just in case. Hero. That's so vague. It could be anything. You guys took my hints.
Hero? It's like they're giving me the word on a silver platter. Doesn't matter what I say now.
Web. What? Pretty sure you're the chameleon. Definitely.
Huh? How?
Okay. You got me. But the word is Spider-Man. No. Not even close. Seriously? It's Dracula then. It's clearly Homer Simpson. Homer Simpson? Flight, bite, and hero. Flight, as in flying characters? No, as in riding a plane. And who steers a plane? A pilot, which is another name for a TV show's first episode. And Homer is the only big TV show character on here. I guess. And bite? What is Homer Simpson most known for? The donut bite. This is unbelievable. And I picked hero because Homer Simpson is a dad, and dads are heroes. That one's a bit of a stretch. Just that one? All of them are!
3 of us know the word, 1 doesn't.
The dog broke free from his handler and sprinted toward the enemy who was firing at them. Once he found the machine gun nest, the dog jumped inside and started attacking the soldiers, biting and clawing at them, and they quickly panicked and gave up. One soldier tried to run, but the dog grabbed him by the throat and dragged him back. The dog was injured during the fight, but didn't stop until his unit was safe, and he was awarded several medals for his bravery. The dog broke free from his handler and sprinted toward the enemy who was firing at them. Once he found the machine gun nest, the dog jumped inside and started attacking the soldiers, biting and clawing at them, and they quickly panicked and gave up. One soldier tried to run, but the dog grabbed him by the throat and dragged him back. The dog was injured during the fight, but didn't stop until his unit was safe, and he was awarded several medals for his bravery. The dog broke free from his handler and sprinted toward the enemy who was firing at them. Once he found the machine gun nest, the dog jumped inside and started attacking the soldiers, biting and clawing at them, and they quickly panicked and gave up. One soldier tried to run, but the dog grabbed him by the throat and dragged him back. The dog was injured during the fight, but didn't stop until his unit was safe, and he was awarded several medals for his bravery. The dog broke free from his handler and sprinted toward the enemy who was firing at them. Once he found the machine gun nest, the dog jumped inside and started attacking the soldiers, biting and clawing at them, and they quickly panicked and gave up. One soldier tried to run, but the dog grabbed him by the throat and dragged him back. The dog was injured during the fight, but didn't stop until his unit was safe, and he was awarded several medals for his bravery. The dog broke free from his handler and sprinted toward the enemy who was firing at them. Once he found the machine gun nest, the dog jumped inside and started attacking the soldiers, biting and clawing at them, and they quickly panicked and gave up. One soldier tried to run, but the dog grabbed him by the throat and dragged him back. The dog was injured during the fight, but didn't stop until his unit was safe, and he was awarded several medals for his bravery. The dog broke free from his handler and sprinted toward the enemy who was firing at them. Once he found the machine gun nest, the dog jumped inside and started attacking the soldiers, biting and clawing at them, and they quickly panicked and gave up. One soldier tried to run, but the dog grabbed him by the throat and dragged him back. The dog was injured during the fight, but didn't stop until his unit was safe, and he was awarded several medals for his bravery. The dog broke free from his handler and sprinted toward the enemy who was firing at them. Once he found the machine gun nest, the dog jumped inside and started attacking the soldiers, biting and clawing at them, and they quickly panicked and gave up. One soldier tried to run, but the dog grabbed him by the throat and dragged him back. The dog was injured during the fight, but didn't stop until his unit was safe, and he was awarded several medals for his bravery. The dog broke free from his handler and sprinted toward the enemy who was firing at them. Once he found the machine gun nest, the dog jumped inside and started attacking the soldiers, biting and clawing at them, and they quickly panicked and gave up. One soldier tried to run, but the dog grabbed him by the throat and dragged him back. The dog was injured during
In the game, we can just burn sand to get glass. But the question is, can we do the same in real life? What do you think?
Of course not. when he was in doubt and knew Mighty was more deserving. Or more interestingly, in my opinion, how does one become a demigod? The second question is more interesting to me because this could explain why we were shown the memory of Trailblazer with the Stellaron Hunters and answer one of the earliest questions in the story. How was Trailblazer created? Yeah, I know. That was such a big jump from talking about Phynon not inheriting the Strife core flame to the creation of Trailblazer, so let's rewind a little bit. Let's talk about Phynon and his trial. This trial is something that comes after defeating a Titan and taking away their core flame, right? As the prophecy would have it, once a Titan is defeated, their core flame must be collected and brought back to the vortex of Genesis. According to Aglaia, this place houses the original divinity of the 12 Titans. Once a Titan is defeated and their core flame is returned, someone must fill the empty seat left behind to uphold the world, making that person both human and divine, a demigod. So far, 6 out of the 12 core flames have been returned, but the only demigods living in the city are Aglaia and Tribi. The other 4 are missing. Interesting, but that's a topic for a different time. The key takeaway here is, in order to become a demigod, one must obtain a Titan's core flame and return it to the vortex of Genesis. Or rather, by returning a core flame, one will become the new host for the defeated Titan's core flame, a vessel for divinity. Interesting choice of words. Now, since we learned about the history of Amphorius, the Titans, the prophecy, and the Chrysos heirs, Phynon had made it clear that Nicator's core flame was his goal. Since the day he was selected by the prophecy, Phynon had set his eyes on the Strife core flame, which implies that the prophecy does not necessarily assign what core flame to which Chrysos heir, but rather, if you can get it, then take it. Long story short, after exploring Custom Kremnos in the present, having an audience with Oronix at Ynusopolis, and back to Custom Kremnos in the past, the hero set out to fight Nicator and managed to defeat the Strife Titan. However, just as he was about to seize the core flame, Phynon turned to Mighty and asked whether he wanted to do it instead. He thought Mighty was more worthy of the honor because he was the one who held Nicator back early on, giving the team as much time as they needed to figure out Nicator's weakness so that the Titan could be slain. Besides, Mighty was the crown prince of Custom Kremnos, the very domain of the Strife. But Mighty refused, he would not have it, and so Phynon was the one who touched the core flame and brought it back to Aglaia. Despite Mighty's refusal and everybody's encouragement, Phynon still had his doubts, and this was apparent to the divine echo of Nicator who came to examine him. Nicator said that Phynon must accept a trial of divinity before the Strife core flame could be passed down to him, and so he left, leaving everybody on the wait for his return. It was at this moment that Aglaia expressed her confidence in Phynon. Should he fail, then it simply means that it is not his time yet. It means another mission awaits him in the future, but regardless, Phynon will inherit a Titan's core flame. Because unlike other Chrysos heirs who have their flaws, Phynon is a perfect vessel for divinity. And when Aglaia said that about Phynon, a vessel for divinity and all that, I could not think about Trailblazer being a host to a Stellaron. Hear me out. Earlier in the story, before Trailblazer and Dan Heng accepted Phynon's invitation to join the Chrysos heirs and help them defeat Nicator, the duo were interrogated by Aglaia. One of the questions Aglaia asked was related to the Stellaron inside Trailblazer's body. However, instead of directly calling it a Stellaron, she said Trailblazer had an unknown yet surging power inside their body. Then she asked whether Trailblazer would be willing to use it to aid the Chrysos heirs in slaying the god. Trailblazer's choice of answers vary from surprise that Aglaia could detect even that, to politely yet firmly rejecting, to agreeing while also warning Aglaia that it was a seed of destruction and that it might backfire if used without caution. Interestingly, if we choose the third option, Aglaia would translate Trailblazer's warning as an angry threat. While everybody knows that the destruction seeds refer to the Stellaron, Aglaia sees it as the Trailblazer threatening her with a literal destruction. Not destruction as in Nanook the destruction, but destruction as in the destruction of the Holy City and Amphorius as a whole. Which makes sense, right? Because Amphorius is foreign to the concept of eons, which also means Aglaia, and by extension the Chrysos heirs, do not know what a Stellaron is and the danger it possesses. She only knows it as some kind of power that might be able to help the Chrysos heirs in their flame chase journey, and them not having any knowledge of the Stellaron makes me wonder if they also don't know that it is not normal for someone to carry one inside their body. Trailblazer was artificially created specifically to host a Stellaron. their body was transformed so that they are immune to Stellaron contamination. So what if this unknown power exists in Amphoreus? Instead of knowing this power as the Stellaron, the Chrysos heirs know this as the core flames of the Titans. Instead of being immune to the Stellaron contamination, bearing one inside their bodies will gradually erode them of their humanity. And what if Phynon being a perfect vessel for divinity means that he is immune to the Stellaron contamination just as Trailblazer is? See, in all of the planets that the Express crew have visited, at the core of every conflict is the Stellaron. The Stellaron was what caused the eternal winter on Yorilo 6, it was what revived the Amborshell Arbor on the Lofu, it was what created the family's dreamscape in Penacony. Storytelling-wise, it will also be in Amphoreus. And we have seen signs of this. There is a Calyx Crimson in present-day Custom Kremnos and a Cavern of Corrosion at Custom Kremnos in the past. Both are marks left behind by the Fragmentum, which is believed to be caused by the Stellaron. So there is a Stellaron in Amphoreus, right? Or perhaps 12 of them. You see, when the Chrysos heirs and the Express crew fought Nikador for the last time, they managed to defeat the Titan just as Nikador launched its attack on Kephale. And for a brief moment there, we could see a glowing orb thing exposed at the core of Nikador's body, which looks similar to the orb that Kephale is holding up on its back. The outer shell of the core was eventually destroyed after Nikador's failed attack on Kephale's, and it revealed a bright core inside. This reminds me of this Ascension material, the Squirming core, different in color, yes, but it has a similar structure of an outer shell and a bright core inside. This core is said to be the heart of a monster wandering the Fragmentum. And have I mentioned that the Fragmentum is related to the Stellaron? So if Kephale has one, and so did Nikador, maybe the rest of the Titans have one as well. Perhaps this is their core flames. And this is why Phynon's trial is important. You know, when they say that they must slay the gods and return their core flames to the vortex of Genesis, at first I thought it really meant just that, that they would take the defeated Titan's core flame and return it to the vortex. But from the way Aglaia talks about Phynon being a vessel for divinity, it doesn't seem to be that simple. This sort of goes back to Herda's question in 2.7 Quest when she had that audience with Nous, a fake one as it turns out to be, and asked Droid Head this question: what is divinity? What makes a divine celestial body divine? In the overall Starrel universe, this would refer to the Eons, right? They are divine because they have ascended to Eonhood and become the very definition of a concept, the purest version of it, shackled to the concept even. This is why some of them seem uncaring to humanity. Nous has uncovered all mysteries of the universe but does nothing to prevent the catastrophic ones because their purpose is to ask questions and endlessly extrapolate data. The answers and the results of the extrapolation do not interest them. But then if we zoom into Amphoreus, their gods are the Titans, 12 of them. What makes these Titans divine? Each of them also has a role to play in Amphoreus. One lights up the sky and makes it daytime, one establishes the passage of time, and so on. They have their own path, similarly to the Eons. When a Titan is defeated, what is left of them that would define their path? It's their core flames. The Strife Titan Nikador was defeated and Phynon returned with the Strife core flame. The core flame is the Titan's divinity. It is what makes them divine. So when Aglaia says that Phynon is a vessel for divinity, it means that he will be a new host of a core flame. And if we are to believe that these core flames are the Stellarons, that would make Phynon a vessel for a Stellaron. Every single one of the Chrysos heirs will be, just as Aglaia and Trivi have been, which means we're talking about helping 6 more people become hosts for a Stellaron. So that's fun, right? What's the worst that could happen? When Ornyx spoke around Trailblazer's mind and showed them a memory of their time with the Hunters, I found it weird that it was that specific memory that was shown. But it is not as weird if we consider Ornyx calling Fully Skyfather. Yes, I know that Aglaia and Phynon both refer to Kephale as Skyfather because in this current era, Kephale is the one that carries dawn on its back, keeping light on Okema, hence Skyfather. However, in Greek mythology, the title Skyfather does not belong only to one divine being. Among the new Olympian gods, for example, it refers to Zeus, the king of the Greek gods who overthrew Kronos, his father who was the leader of the first generation of Titans and was the son of the Skyfather Uranus and Earth Mother Gaia. So, multiple generations of these gods can be referred to the same title once they take over the previous generation's role. And perhaps that is the case in Amphorius, not necessarily because Kefali took over Fuli's job, but because the people of Amphorius are foreign to the concept of eons. While Kefali is known as Sky Father by the people, perhaps among the Titans, Fuli is the one known as Sky Father. And if there's a Sky Father, there must be an Earth Mother. I mean, the Sky Father Uranus and Earth Mother Gaia did have 12 Titan children together. While the identity of this mother is still a mystery, what's also interesting here is the fact that Orynyx dug up Trailblazer's memory of when they were still with the Hunters. Orynyx said it was a precious memory, like, why? Why is it a precious memory? But if we consider that the Titans were created by Fuli, allegedly, and each of them has a Stellaron inside their body, wouldn't that make them artificial bodies made specifically to host a Stellaron, just as the Trailblazer is? And Trailblazer's time before the Express was their time with the Hunters, right? Kafka was tasked to teach them basic knowledge, common sense, combat skill, etc. It was their time in preparation for a Stellaron implant. That is probably the only reason the Stellar Hunters are brought back to the storyline. Yes, I'm looking at you, Kafka, who had been missing for 13 patches before appearing again and only in somebody's memory. Anyway, perhaps as the story progresses, the true nature of the Crisis heirs would be revealed, and at the same time, we will get to learn more about the origin of Trailblazer. I mean, when Trailblazer first met Phynon, there was this dialogue option that pointed out the similarity between them. I know that this is more likely a nod to male Trailblazer being a variant of Honkai Impact Kevin or something along that line, but hey, what if it is also foreshadowing the fact that Trailblazer and Phynon are cut from the same cloth? Yep, that's enough tinfoil hatting for today. Like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!
Approaching now are the duo of gladiators whose names strike terror in all who hear them. The one, the only Dark Swordmaster, Finan!
team right big slot previously. That was sort of like the main takeaway. Can Tribi replace Ranmei? Can Tribi replace Babin? Mainly these two. Some of the other supports, I think Tribi can't really replace. So let's just tackle this question first. Who can Tribi replace, or whether can she replace in the team comp that you yourself are using in order to determine if she's even worth the exchange? Because one thing to factor in is, if you already pulled for a unit such as Ranmei, such as Robin, why do you want to pull Tribi on top of that? Because if you're not running Sustainless, one of them is going to go, right? You're either benching Ranmei or Babin in order to slot in Tribi. Unless you do want to play Sustainless, then I think the damage amplification is going to be something that's a completely separate topic, because every single one of these, a run with or without sustain is super different. I do think that the question of whether she replaces a unit is more like, how much have you already invested in the previous team comp that you have been basically using your entire lives before you actually wanted to pull Tribi. For example, if let's just say you are running a team like this, right? You are running a DOT team that's looking something like this. Do you think you pulling for Tribi and you slot out Robin here, that would be a net positive or a net negative on your account progression going forward? The pros, I can see a very straightforward one, is that now you can free up Bobbin for your next team. Right, that's a pretty good pro. The cons is, if you don't free up this Robin for the next team and you are building up Tribi specifically for DOT, you might find yourself in the predicament where this slot tree could find someone that's even more synergistic. And an excellent example I can kind of see is this team right here. So in the event that you don't have Sunday, right? Let's just say you don't have Sunday, and previously you were running like Robin and like, I don't know, Ting Yun, right? Let's say this was your old team, and then you want to consider yourself, okay, should I just pull Tribi, and whether or not she can replace drastically improving the performance of a Jing Yuan? I would say the answer is no. Because some units, especially a super specialized slot tree that's not as general, you would find the improvement to be much more. So you gotta ask yourself, the purpose of you pulling for this Tribi, is it gonna be worth it? Or do you want to see if there's gonna be a more specialized team specific to the DPS that you're using most of the time? Because at the end of the day, right, you can pull for a lot of supports. You can pull for your Ranmei, you can pull for your Robin, you can pull for Tribi. You pull all these supports, but there are only 4 slots in a Honky Starbucks game. You either change the supports or you change the DPS. Because most of the time, the sustain slot, it is pretty much balanced. Huang Wen is performing very well recently because of all the energy regeneration buffs. Aventry is the Ventry, Lingsha is Lingsha. We could even see a rise of a Luocha as well as Fu Xuan. So all the sustain slots, they're more or less balanced. So you are asking yourself if Tribi can replace the role of the generalized support or the specialized support. Me personally, I don't really think she's worth it for either case. So for example, right, if you already have a Sunday and you're running something like this, you already have this. If you were to pull for Tribi, there's no way she's replacing Sunday for Jing Yuan anyways, for Jing Yuan anyways. She's not going to replace Sunday because Sunday's value for Jing Yuan is still going to be extremely high, and it's not something that Tribi herself can straight up outplace, especially if you already have him. It is almost like a downgrade unless you are thinking about like E1 Tribi, which is like a completely different topic that maybe we'll explore in the future because I just added the mind, but that's going to be that. Can she replace Robin though? Can she replace Robin? I would say it.
One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was get good at Git. Few things are more scary for a software engineer than screwing something up with Git. After weeks of writing the perfect code, you submit a pull request and end up with a bunch of embarrassing failed checks and merge conflicts. Next thing you know, you're scrambling on Stack Overflow looking for a solution that will likely just add gasoline to the fire. Git was created by a guy much smarter than us. He knew if he made it too easy, it would make us weak. Instead, he wanted to give us the glory of overcoming the challenge. I'm pretty sure that's what he was thinking. In today's video, we'll look at a bunch of different tips and tricks to make you more productive with Git. But if you're new to Git, I just released a short course on Fireship.io that's designed as a modern learning path to get you started with Git and GitHub. It contains a bunch of short videos along with exercises to transform you into a professional Git user quickly. This content is supported by viewers like you, and I want to send a huge thank you to everybody out there who's already a pro member. So to get started, I'm assuming you know the basics of Git, like you know how to do a git add followed by a git commit to save a snapshot of your code. That's usually the first thing you learn in Git, but there's actually a better way to get the job done. You can get rid of the git add and go straight to commit by using the AM flag. This will automatically add all of the files in the current working directory. That's a nice improvement, but there's actually an even more concise way to get the job done. Your git config provides a way to create aliases, which are commonly used to shorten existing commands or create your own new custom commands. For example, we might create an alias called AC that runs the add and commit command with just 2 letters. That allows us to get things done faster, but sometimes going fast leads to mistakes.
Clearly mistakes were made.
What if you made a typo on your last commit message? Instead of resetting and creating a new commit, the amend flag followed by a new message will simply update the latest commit. Or maybe you forgot to include or stage a couple files with your last commit. You can also update the last commit with new files by using the amend flag, and if you want to keep the same commit message, add the no edit flag as well. But keep in mind, this only really works if you haven't already pushed your code to a remote repository, unless you like to live dangerously, in which case you can do a git push with the force flag. This will overwrite the remote commit with the state of your local code. However, if there are commits on the remote branch that you don't have, you will lose them forever, and your coworkers might not be too happy about that.
Don't make me swing on you, bro.
But what happens if you push some code to a remote repository, then realize it's complete garbage and never should have been there in the first place? The git revert command allows you to take one commit and go back to the state that was there previously. It's kind of like an undo, but it doesn't remove the original commit from the history. Instead, it just goes back to the original state, and that's much easier than trying to put things back together like a trauma surgeon.
Major trauma. Too much blood, I can't see a thing.
In other cases, you may need to work on a repo but not have access to your local machine. If you're at your grandma's house without your laptop, you can use any computer that has a web browser. Go to GitHub and find the repo that you want to work on. Then hit the period key on your keyboard. And like magic, it pulls up a browser-based version of VS Code where you can make edits, submit pull requests, and do almost anything else you could do locally. Well, except for run the terminal. If you do need to run terminal commands, you can set up a GitHub code space in the cloud, which will give you the full power of VS Code and is likely much faster than your grandma's computer. But now let's switch gears to one of my you can use git stash save followed by a name to reference it later. Then when you're ready to work on it again, use git stash list to find it, then git stash apply with the corresponding index to use it. Now, if you want to use a stash at grandma's house, you're pretty much SOL, unless you use a GitHub code space, in which case your stashes. In 2020, this term is no longer the preferred nomenclature. Refer to it as main, mega, or mucho to stay out of trouble. To change it, use git branch followed by the M flag and rename it to main, or maybe get creative and invent your own name. Now, another command you're probably familiar with is git log to view a history of commits. The problem with this command is that the output is harder and harder to read as your project grows in complexity. To make the output more readable, add the options of graph, one line, and decorate. You can now see a more concise breakdown and how different branches connect together. But if you're looking at the git log, there's likely a commit in there that's currently breaking your app. Git bisect allows you to start from a commit that is known to have a bug, likely the most recent commit, but you knew that the app was working a few hours ago. You can point bisect to the last known working commit, then it performs a binary search to walk you through each commit in between. If the commit looks good, type bisect good to move on to the next commit. Eventually you'll find the bad one and know exactly which code needs to be fixed. Another advanced Git technique that every developer should know is how to squash their commits. Imagine you're working on a feature branch that has 3 different commits and you're ready to merge it into the master branch. I mean main branch. But all these commit messages are kind of pointless and it would be better if it was just one single commit. We can do that from our feature branch by running git rebase with the interactive option for the main branch. That'll pull up a file with a list of commits on this branch. If we want to use a commit, we just use the pick command. We can also change a message using the reword command, or we can combine or squash everything into the original commit using squash. Go ahead and save the file and close it. Git will pull up another file prompting you to update the commit message, which by default will be a combination of all the messages that you just squashed. And if you don't like all the messages to be combined, you can use fixup instead of squash when doing the rebase. To be even more productive, you can also use fixup and squash flags when making commits on your branch. When you do that, it tells Git in advance that you want to squash them, so when you go to do a rebase with the auto squash flag, it can handle all the squashing automatically. Now, if you maintain a repo, one tool that can be very useful is Git hooks. Whenever you perform an operation with Git, like a commit for example, it creates an event, and hooks allow you to run some code either before or after that event happens. If you look in the hidden Git directory, you'll see a directory there called hooks, and inside of it, you'll find a bunch of different scripts that can be configured to run when different events in Git happen. If you happen to be a JavaScript developer, there's a package called Husky that makes it much easier to configure Git hooks. For example, you might install it with npm, then create a script that will validate or lint your code before each commit, and that can help improve your overall code quality. To wrap things up, let's talk about deleting things. Let's imagine you have a remote repository on GitHub, then a local version on your machine that you've been making changes to, but things haven't been going too well, and you just want to go back to the original state in the remote repo. First, do a git fetch to grab the latest code in the remote repo. Then, use reset with the hard flag to override your local code with the remote code. But be careful, your local changes will be lost forever. But you might still be left with some random untracked